Did you know that one of the largest grocery chains in America organized its products alphabetically? Or that another started as a department store? These are just a couple of the fascinating stories behind the 10 extinct grocery stores we're about to explore. Enter Colonial Stores, a grocery giant that hatched from the merger of Little Star Neighborhood Groceries and Big Star Supermarkets in 1947. On August 3rd of that year, they introduced their iconic rooster logo, which quickly became as recognizable in Southern kitchens as a cast iron skillet. But Colonial Stores wasn't just about fancy feathers. In 1962, they made a bold move, transitioning to a low-margin discount model. This shift reflected a broader change in how Americans shopped for groceries. Suddenly, value was king, and Colonial Stores aimed to wear the crown. For many Southern families in the 1970s, a trip to Colonial Stores was as routine as Sunday dinner. The rooster logo wasn't just a mascot, it was a symbol of quality, affordability, and a distinctly Southern shopping experience. Number 2. Mars Supermarkets. While the rooster was leaving the hen house, a different kind of bird was soaring into Baltimore's grocery scene. Imagine a store where you could smell the ocean and taste sun-ripened produce, all without leaving the city. Sounds too good to be true, right? Well, for Charm City residents, this was their reality for over 70 years. Enter Mars Supermarkets, a grocery chain that launched in 1943, taking its name from a nearby flying boat developed by Glenn L. Martin. But it wasn't just the name that made Mars out of this world. This chain revolutionized the grocery game by bringing farm-fresh produce and just-caught seafood to Baltimore's neighborhoods every single day. In the 1970s, when many chains were focusing on national brands and processed foods, Mars Supermarkets doubled down on local sourcing. They were ahead of their time, reflecting a growing interest in fresh, quality ingredients. For Baltimore families, a trip to Mars wasn't just grocery shopping, it was like visiting a daily farmer's market. Number 3. Kohls Food Stores. As Mars faded away, another retailer was busy reinventing itself. Remember when Kohls was all about groceries instead of clothes? It's true. This Wisconsin-born chain made a leap that would make even the boldest entrepreneurs think twice. How did Kohls go from produce to polo shirts? Kohls Food Stores opened its doors in 1946, serving up fresh groceries to Wisconsin families. But in 1962, they made a decision that would change everything. Instead of stocking shelves with canned goods, they decided to fill them with clothing and home goods. Talk about a makeover! This shift wasn't just about changing inventory, it reflected a broader trend in 1970s America. Shoppers were looking for one-stop destinations where they could buy everything from dinner to dresses. Kohls saw this change coming and rode the wave. But what happened to all those grocery stores? Well, in 1983, Kohls sold its food business to A&P. The old Kohls grocery stores kept their name for a while, eventually becoming Kohls Food Emporium. It was like seeing your old teacher with a new job, familiar but different. Did you know that one of the largest grocery chains in America organized its products alphabetically? Or that another started as a department store? These are just a couple of the fascinating stories behind the 10 extinct grocery stores we're about to explore. Each one left its mark on the 1970s shopping experience in ways you might not expect. Number 4. Alpha Beta. From clothing racks to grocery aisles, the 70s saw some wild ideas in retail. But have you ever wondered what would happen if someone applied the logic of a dictionary to a supermarket? One California chain did just that, and it's a story that might make you rethink how you navigate your local store. Enter Alpha Beta, a grocery store founded in 1917 in eastern Los Angeles County. The name wasn't just a catchy phrase, it was a promise of a revolutionary shopping experience. Imagine walking into a store where everything was arranged in alphabetical order. Apples next to asparagus, bread beside butter, and carrots cozying up to cereal. This unique approach was more than just a gimmick. In the efficiency-obsessed 70s, Alpha Beta's organizational system appealed to shoppers looking to streamline their grocery runs. No more zigzagging through aisles, just follow the alphabet and fill your cart. But like many innovative ideas, Alpha Beta's alphabetical adventure had its ups and downs. In 1961, American Stores acquired the chain, setting off a series of changes. By 1979, Skaggs Drug Centers had entered the picture, rebranding locations as Skaggs Alpha Beta. Number 5. Eagle Food Stores. The alphabet may have spelled doom for Alpha Beta, but for another chain, it was a numbers game. How does a grocery store go from $1.2 billion in sales to bankruptcy in just 2 decades? Eagle Food Store's journey from small-town market to retail casualty is a story of ambition, competition, and the relentless march of progress. It all started in 1893 when the Tenenbaum family opened a small neighborhood market in Davenport, Iowa. Little did they know that their humble shop would grow into a Midwestern powerhouse. By the 1930s, Eagle Food Stores was making waves in the grocery world, introducing self-service at lower prices, a concept that seems obvious now but was revolutionary back then. Fast forward to the 1980s and Eagle was soaring high. With 136 locations and $1.2 billion in sales, it seemed unstoppable. But the grocery landscape was changing fast. Bigger chains like Jewel Osco, Dominics, and newcomers like Walmart were swooping in, offering prices and selection that Eagle struggled to match. Number 6. Brunos. As Eagle's wings were clipped, a different kind of bird was taking flight in the South. How did a modest Birmingham shop transform into a grocery empire that captured the essence of Southern living? Bruno's story is a roller coaster of family values, savvy business moves, and a dash of Southern magic. It all began in the 1930s when Joseph Sam Bruno opened a small grocery store in Birmingham, Alabama. Little did he know that his humble shop would become a symbol of Southern hospitality in the grocery world. By the 1950s, Bruno's had expanded to 29 stores, proving that their recipe for success was just right for Southern tastes. The 1970s saw Bruno's truly come into its own. In 1971, the company went public, giving it the resources to grow even further. But it wasn't just about size. Bruno's had a secret ingredient. In 1972, they launched Food World, a discount chain that quickly became more profitable than the original Bruno's stores. This move showed that Bruno's understood what Southern shoppers really wanted: quality products at affordable prices. Bruno's didn't stop there. They introduced warehouse-oriented consumer foods, a concept that helped fuel their growth throughout the decade. It was like they had a crystal ball, predicting exactly what customers would want before they even knew it themselves. Number 7. Dominics. Bruno's wasn't the only grocery chain with a fascinating story. Picture this: a bustling Chicago supermarket in the 1970s, aisles stocked with local favorites. How did one family-owned store become the heart of Chicagoland shopping for nearly 100 years? Enter Dominics, a grocery empire that started as a humble shop in 1918. Founded by Dominic DiMatteo, this Chicago-born business grew to define the city's food landscape. But Dominics wasn't content with being just another neighborhood store. In the 1970s, they made a bold move, snatching up 24 Kroger stores and cementing their place as a major player in the Windy City's grocery game. During this era, Dominics wasn't just selling groceries, they were shaping Chicago's food culture. As supermarkets evolved to offer more variety, Dominics kept pace, expanding their selection to meet the changing tastes of Chicagoans. Their stores became more than just places to buy milk and bread. They were community hubs where generations of families shopped. Number 8. Food Fair. Dominics wasn't alone in its struggle to adapt. Across the country, another grocery chain was about to learn a hard lesson. Sometimes, a new name isn't enough to save you. What pushed this popular supermarket from Food Fair to bankruptcy in less than a decade? Enter Food Fair, a grocery giant born in the Roaring '20s. For decades, they were a household name, expanding rapidly and gobbling up other chains like Setzer's supermarkets. But by the 1970s, the supermarket landscape was shifting. Shoppers wanted discounts, and Food Fair needed a fresh look. In 1964, they introduced their private label, Pantry Pride. It was such a hit that by the early 70s, most food fair stores had transformed into pantry pride locations. This wasn't just a new coat of paint. It was a complete makeover, reflecting the growing appetite for budget-friendly shopping. But rebranding came at a cost. In 1978, just as disco was reaching its peak, food fair's fortunes hit rock bottom. The company filed for bankruptcy, a victim of overexpansion and fierce competition. After emerging from bankruptcy, they closed hundreds of stores, including all J.M. Fields locations. Number 9. Bi-Lo. Ever heard of Bi-Lo? This Southern staples roller coaster journey through the decades might surprise you. What made it stand out in the cutthroat world of 1970s supermarkets? It all started in 1961 when Frank Outlaw bought 4 grocery stores from Winn-Dixie in South Carolina. 2 years later, after an employee contest, the name Bi-Lo was born, marking the beginning of a discount grocery empire. In the 1970s, Bi-Lo became a familiar sight across the South. Its blue and white logo promised quality products at bargain prices, a winning formula in an era of economic uncertainty. But Bi-Lo's story was far from smooth sailing. In 1977, Dutch retail giant Ahold swooped in, purchasing the chain and setting the stage for major changes. The 1990s saw Bi-Lo expand aggressively, gobbling up other chains like Red Food stores. It seemed unstoppable. But the new millennium brought challenges. Bi-Lo filed for bankruptcy in 2009, a victim of changing consumer habits and fierce competition. Though it emerged from bankruptcy in 2010, the writing was on the wall. Number 10. A&P, the Great Atlantic and Pacific Tea Company. Bi-Lo wasn't the only grocery chain to face a dramatic downfall. Imagine a store so big it shaped the entire supermarket landscape, only to crumble under its own weight. What could make a retail titan with 16,000 locations disappear without a trace? The answer lies in the rise and fall of A&P, America's first supermarket giant. A&P's story begins in the 1850s, long before the days of shopping carts and frozen dinners. Originally focusing on tea and coffee, this company grew to dominate the grocery world. By the 1930s, A&P had become the world's largest retailer, boasting a staggering 16,000 stores. It was the Walmart of its day, changing how America shopped and ate. But even giants can fall. As the 1970s rolled around, A&P found itself struggling to keep up with the times. Modern supermarkets were popping up left and right, offering new experiences that A&P couldn't match. It was like watching a dinosaur try to survive in the age of mammals. Fascinating, but ultimately doomed. The once mighty A&P faced not one, but multiple bankruptcies. Each time they tried to reinvent themselves, but the magic was gone. In 2015, after years of losses, A&P filed for bankruptcy one last time. By November of that year, all A&P supermarkets had closed their doors for good.